Hey everybody, Bob Chick along with David Baye. We're here at Tim Gardner's NPC Extravaganza in the Chicago Pro. Back in Chicago again, bro.
Yeah, Pro-Am, definitely a big event. It's always cool when you can have an NPC event with an IFBB event. The the amateurs get to share the same stage with the pros, and it's a great venue here. Hotels connected to a gorgeous convention center. So Tim Gardner, first class all the way, as usual.
Well, over 200 NPC and over 120 pros. Kind of a little preview here for his Tampa Pro that's coming up a little bit later in the year, which is expected to go well over 200 pros. So, I mean, we're getting down to the last chance saloon, bro. Only a few slots open when we get to that Olympia qualifier, Joe Weider's 50th, coming up in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we have for men's bodybuilding in 212, or for men's open bodybuilding, we have today. We have Sacramento coming up August 2nd, and we have Tampa August 9th. For the 212 division, it's today, and Tim Gardner's other show, Tampa. So chances to qualify for the Olympia are they're getting real slim, and the guys who don't have their qualifications, it's crunch time. And
after that, it's Finland, boy, for the last chance saloon if you're going to hit it.
Oh, there is a show in Finland before. It's like a week before, isn't it? I forgot about that. Yes, it's a Finland show a week before, but that's a heck of a hike for somebody. And unless you're an easy favorite at that show, and at this point, I don't know that anybody's an easy favorite at any show. That's a ways to go. So I think most of the guys who are looking to get their qualification spot are looking to do it here in the States in the next few weeks.
Well, let's get right into it, David. Pro figure being represented here, along with women's physique, women's bodybuilding, women's fitness. But let's get right into the men's stuff. We got the Pro Men's 212 and the Pro Open. Let's get through to the top guns in the 212. We got some names in there.
There definitely are some names. We have last year's winner, Tricky Jackson. He's going to definitely be a favorite. We have Hidetada Yamagashi.
Yamagishi.
Yamagishi.
Gotta know your Japanese here, brother.
I'm a little rough on my Japanese, but got fourth place at the Arnold after dropping down from the Open. He's here. A couple other guys, Curtis Bryant, who I want to say he got 5th or 6th in New York, but his conditioning was absolutely incredible. And Boye Edwards, who's done pretty well so far this year.
He's really come up over the last few shows, and Boye has really established himself as another front runner. He's definitely going to give those guys a run. And we'd be remiss, David, if we didn't use that word one more time. In the tank himself, Charles Dixon here, and I tell you what, boy, we saw the the pictures of Charles last week, and him getting ready. He looks like a tank.
Yeah, he does. You know, the 212, obviously everybody knows these guys are short. You have a couple guys in the class that are unusually short even for the 212. Charles Dixon being one of them. Marvin Ward is the other one that comes to mind. But they pack so much muscle on such a small frame. It looks real cartoonish. From the pictures we see online, we've talked about this a gazillion times. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be in shape, but from what we've seen so far, he looks like he's in pretty good shape. So look for him to, I think he'll definitely be pushing for a top 5 spot tomorrow.
Well, those 5 names, probably your top 5 in there, and we'll see if any dark horses come out or if anybody else establishes themselves into that lineup. Head judge Luke Tesovich, along with the crew, will give them every opportunity. Of course, Luke is known for mixing and matching and giving those guys an opportunity to prove it on stage.
Brad Davis might be. Yeah, Brad Davis got his pro card at the North Americans last year. Guys, I have no idea how he makes it under 212. When you see him in person, he's absolutely huge. If I have to pick one other person and somebody I don't want to leave out, it's Brad Davis. I think he could, if he's in shape, which he was last year at the North Americans, he could maybe sneak in there. So I just didn't want to leave him out.
No. Well, there's a whole bunch of guys, and listen, superstars are made every show. Guys have every opportunity to make it or break it. So we'll see what happens at the prejudging of that. Of course, is tomorrow. That the pros will be taking the stage at 12 noon, the amateurs, of course, in the morning. So obviously we'll be having updates as the prejudging progresses. Into the Open. Now we're getting down to brass tacks, David. Only a few slots open still for that Olympia. What do we got for front runners?
Rolly Winkler, I think, your winner from last year. I saw him at the check-ins, and I'm sure you noticed too. His face is sunk in, and I know we talk about that a lot on the boards. Is it a sure thing that if somebody's face is sunk in, they're going to be in shape?
Not a bad thing.
No, but it's definitely a sign. And Rolly's face is, it is sunk right in. If
anybody's got something to prove, obviously, as most people know by now, Rulli was supposed to be in a show earlier in the season, got into a bad motorcycle accident. Luckily, didn't come out too worse for wear. Had some road rash, but really nothing major going on except for a little gash in his leg, which he seemed to heal up from. But he's got something to prove here. Obviously, shows are getting down there. There's only a couple. So he's coming here with a little bit of fire, and he wants his title and back on the Olympia stage.
Yeah, Rolly's one of those guys where nobody doubts that he has potential to be top 5 guy at the Olympia. It's just a matter of, can he bring it all together? Can he show up really shredded? He's been a little bit inconsistent in the past as far as his conditioning goes. So So, but if he really nails it, he's hard to beat at any show that's not the Olympia.
Well, he's going to have some work cut out for him here, David. It's certainly no cakewalk. Now, there's not a lot of front runners in terms of Olympia caliber competition. Really, probably again the highest ranked guy here. So no surprise, should be his show to win or lose. But who's he going up against?
Well, Esa Obiad is here. He's Isa, excuse me. He's one of those guys too, where if he shows up in really good shape, he can be really dangerous. If he's a little bit off, he can slip. Jojo Nefturo, another guy who he's shown a level of inconsistency over the years that you put a question mark.
But he's shown improvement. Now we saw him at the Europa, where he came out and pretty much wowed everybody because people were really used to seeing JoJo in less than stellar conditioning. He's always had the lines. He's got great muscle bellies. Nice round Flex Wheelerish. Comes to mind with the roundness and the full muscle bellies. But always was behind in the conditioning. But he actually got that together last show. So if he can make up another 5% on stage, he might be in the mix.
Yeah, I definitely think he could push for a top 5 spot. Another guy that we've seen pictures on online leading up to, and he looks like he's pretty sharp right now. He's definitely in better shape than he was here last year. And from what I've seen, I would venture to say he's also in better shape than we saw him earlier on this year, which was pretty impressive.
All right, round out the top 5. Who else we got for candidates?
We have Anwen, who, another guy where if he's off a little bit, he's out of the mix. If he's shredded, he can get in there.
Beautiful physique, though. Now, there's another guy. If he brings it down just a few pounds, gets that conditioning, he could easily be in this top 5. Also, some guys making their pro debuts here.
Yeah, we have Dan Decker and Brian Yursky, two guys that we saw earn their pro cards in 2012. Right. Dan at the North Americans, Brian winning the overall at the Nationals. Haven't seen them since then. They both took a lot of time off in 2013 to make the changes and the improvements they needed to make. So it'll be interesting to see how they show up. Brian doesn't have the prettiest physique in the world, but when he won his pro card at Nationals, he was big and he was really lean for a super heavyweight. So in this particular lineup, if he's, he said he's probably going to be about 8 or 10 pounds heavier. If he brings the same conditioning that he did to Nationals in 2012, he could be pushing for a top 5 spot.
Well, a couple of guys named Williams I see in the mix in there, while not related. What's their chances? I mean, anybody there sticking out at Akeem or Keith?
Keith is one of those guys where he's probably going to be in the top 10. He's probably not going to be pushing for a top 5 spot. If he shows up really, really sharp and a couple guys slip, maybe he can sneak into the top 5. Akeem, not that sharp at the New York Pro. He definitely looks better now than he did in New York. I've seen some pictures of him that we've had sent. He's a new guy with MD. I've had the boss man send me a few pictures of Akeem. He's looking really sharp, so he's definitely tighter than he was in New York. I think Akeem could be pushing a top 5 spot if he really brings it.
Well, good make it or break it show for Akeem then. I mean, if it's going to get done, this is a real good place to do it. Another couple notable names in there. Big Bill Wilmore back in the mix. I ran into Bill earlier today. He assures me that you're not going to see the same Bill Wilmore that you saw last show. He's got his size back. He's got what it takes. So he's feeling a little bit more confident about his chances here. Bill, a good journeyman pro, but, is it enough to crack that top 5 here?
He got 3rd place last year, and I think a lot of people had felt that Justin Compton and Lee Banks had deserved a few places ahead of him. We can talk about that at any show, though. But his last show, he was definitely just way off. I mean, and even, for Bill not being the most consistent guy, he was just really, really far off. So I'd like to see him in better shape. With this particular lineup, he's going to be fighting for a top 5 spot.
Dark horse pick, David. Who do we got in there? Somebody's jumping out at you right now, just screaming to get into that top 3.
Oh boy, I don't know about a dark horse top 3, and the guys on the boards, I'm sure, will eat this up. Jeff Long. Okay. Jeff Long has, he's tanked. He's probably not going to like me saying this. He's tanked pretty hard so far as a pro. He looked pretty good in Toronto, though. I mean, he wasn't as sharp as he needed to be, but he came out and it was like, okay, this is more what we need to see out of Jeff. Now, he's had, obviously a month between Toronto and now. If he's made some serious progress in the last month, I don't know about top 3, but I think you could see Jeff Long sneak into the top 5 I know that's a big if he's shredded.
Well, when you say make progress, let's get a little specific here because Jeff's a notable on the MD boards. A lot of people, he likes to mix and match it up there with the fans online and all that. And he's taken his fair share, but I tell you what, he's taking it on the chin. He's not one to make a lot of excuses. I mean, he's come out, he has basically told people, look, I blew this one or I wasn't in shape for that one. So I'll give him credit. for being upfront and honest with that type of stuff. But what is it when you say make progress? What does he have to improve on to get into the top 5?
You know, he's got such big legs, and his back is pretty good. His calves are good. When you see him hit like a front double bicep, he's definitely lacking in the arms department. So he needs to bring up his arms. But for him, it's conditioning more than anything, you know, and we can say that about a lot of guys. But Jeff just needs to come in really shredded, you know, and that's something that he's battled his whole career. You know, I remember when he first got on the national stage, everybody saw pictures of him, and it was like, wow, just because of how freaky he was, but he wasn't in that good a shape. So, you know, there was this, you know, this mixed bag of feelings as far as, you know, where he's going to go or what kind of potential he has. Still a lot of potential, just needs to show up in shape.
All right, well, that rounds out the guys. Lots of ladies action out there. Women's bodybuilding making an appearance back. My girl Kim Buck, actually, who is actually from my area in Atlanta, making her presence back on stage for the first time in about 2 years. She'll be fought hard by Kim Perez. Also a perennial favorite at these shows, so we'll see how the lady bodybuilders make out. Women's physique also taking the stage. If I'm not mistaken, Layla Thompson is in this show. She was top 3 over there. Jamie Pinder, I was going to say last year's winner, defending the title here. So those two we're expecting, obviously, to make a splash out there. You've got Pro Figure. I'm going to go with my favorite, Lori Green. Freak Diesel out there. I don't know. She's going to be pretty tough.
I agree with you 100%. Lori's made huge improvements over the last year. Downsized a little bit, coming in sharper. I think she was in 3rd place in New York. She's had a couple other top 5 finishes this year. When I'm looking at the Pro Figure lineup, we don't have any of the real big-name girls.
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. That's our biggest class actually here at the show. So there's a whole bunch of them still fighting for points and obviously for that win. I'm going to stick with Freak Diesel. You got to love that nickname when you're talking about a girl in 6-inch heels.
I'm not going to argue with you on that. And she, for those guys who don't know, she's known for pushing some pretty heavy weight for somebody her size. So that comes. I'm not, you know, the freak and the diesel with a figure girl. It doesn't
like
quite.
The yin and the yang, Davey. You got to like that, like peanut butter and jelly, man. Sometimes things just go together like that.
And they match the division.
Yeah, but that's what I like, man. I like that kind of stuff. I give them all nicknames, you know that. And the women's fitness rounding out, pretty good team. I think there's about 15 of them. Wide open. I tell you this, there's not one name on there who's basically a top Olympian, which I kind of like sometimes because it gives the girls an opportunity to get themselves there. So I think you're going to see some good routines out there with the girls. And not to be remiss or outdone. That's the second time I've used that in this one. But we've got some superstars here. Flex Wheeler, the Sultan of Symmetry himself, in attendance, along with count them two, David, top Olympians, probably maybe the top 2 in the sport, other than Iris Kyle herself. Linda Murray, 8-time champion, and Kim Chiveski.
She looks absolutely amazing. She looks incredible.
They both look incredible. And Kim Chiveski here also. So you got a whole bunch of Olympia titles between those two. Those two also here are going to get some special awards from Tim Gardner and his crew here. So
Well-deserved.
Absolutely. So once again, a great stellar competition being put on by Tim Gardner and his entire production crew. Like I said, Luke Tesvich at the head judging helm here. So we've got a top-notch crew, man. That's going to wrap things up here for the preview. We will be back tomorrow. Prejudging starting tomorrow morning for the amateurs, noon for the pros. So keep yourselves riveted to the MD forums where we'll have, of course, play-by-play action and up-to-date interviews with us and, of course, all the champs that are here. So we'll be back after the prejudging tomorrow. We'll see how close you came, my friend, to predicting any of these top 5 finishes. You'll be close. For David Baye, I'm Bob Chick. That's going to wrap things up here in Chicago. We'll see you tomorrow right back here.